Oh, the commercial.
Blog Talk Radio.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At CounterRacism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by CounterRacism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Greetings. Thank you for tuning in. Special edition of the context of white supremacy. Gus T Renegade, victim of white supremacy. It is... I'm not sure of today's date. I'm confused. It's a little after 12 a.m., about to be Wednesday at some point in May, the Wednesday before Memorial Day. There you go. Whatever date that is, the Wednesday before Memorial Day. Live broadcast. I do not have a guest for this program. This was not a planned program. This program is the result of having an exchange of views with non-white people, a constructive exchange of views with non-white people. One of the individuals, I won't say names. One victim of white supremacy I met through posting on thecode.net. I don't believe he posted there, but I think he goes, as Mr. Fisher indicated, there are a lot of people who go to the code who never post, but they do read. I think Mr. Fuller's term is great spectator, where non-white people just watch things happen, basically, and don't get involved. And, you see that play out, even in racism, where the non-white people are just watching and often not really understanding what's happening in the game, if you will. And so, talking about racism, white supremacy, this non-white person on the code saw some of the posts and I think listened to the program, and he sent me a message and said he appreciated the programs, perhaps thought something about them was constructive. I don't want to misquote, but I think that was perhaps said, maybe not, I could be incorrect. And we just, talked on email, had a couple phone calls, but constructive. I will say it was constructive. I noted, because I do not talk to a lot of non-white people. I personally advocate avoiding contact with non-white people because it's not constructive. I found that it easily leads to conflict and just non-constructive activity. And so this non-white person, we talked, very constructive, and it was really, it was refreshing to talk to him over the phone because he really, questioned things. That's what I wanted to say. He challenged ideas that I had. He questioned and made me think and refine, my ideas and some of the behaviors that I was doing if I was doing the most constructive thing as a victim of white supremacy. And we met. He got us a ride to go to see C.O.W.S. Back of the bus, took me off that C.O.W.S. was going to be in town. I didn't know if I wanted to go at first. I was like, admitted racist, Back of the bus is saying, too, he didn't really want to go. Exactly. We both thought if a significant number of non-white people, codified non-white people, attend a C.O.W.S. meeting, it might be Constructive. And so the gentleman that I met from the code and some other victims, he got us a ride. First time we met, the first time we meet is going to see 10 Flies. Like, it does not get more codified than that. The first time you meet with an extra victim to boot, who is also informed, going to see Tim Wise and grill him about being an admitted racist. Like, it was a special day. But yeah, we hung out, listened to Tim Wise, talked, met people afterwards. They would tell me, like, plug the show. It was really cool. Like, we talked to a lot of folks. I got a significant spike in ratings the day after that show, so I think a lot of those people did check the show out. So, yeah, let me hurry up because there are other people that need to say important things, God damn it.
Let's do the first.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get that out.
So, yeah, the gentleman we met, we went to the Tim Wise. It was fantastic. We actually talked about Michael Bradley, and we talked a lot about the sexual intercourse between non-whites and whites afterwards, which was very interesting. Always integral topic when discussing counter-racism. But yeah, talked to this gentleman. He's been hanging out. It was 6 of us before we met and talked about racism, white supremacy. Very refreshing evening as well. He was here. We have our honors scholar, English major, is it physiology, and trying to make up his own program, perhaps. We'll see.
You could just say, and you have a black student.
And a nigger in last place. Black student, he said, but you know, it's niggers. But yeah, Back of the Bus. He has a name, goddammit. He was on the show. Back of the Bus and Gus, goddammit. We would point them very critical. We have 4 victims of white supremacy. 1 is non-black. Very important to note, this is a so-called Asian person, so-called Korean. I'm very important that I wanted to. What did you say?
You're like, I don't know.
You said white people. I said that I wanted that on the button. We're going to get to this in a minute because this is very important. This happened because of the discussion that we were having, and I felt it was revealing and it needed to be true. And so I want to interrupt right now because he's saying he's scared of white people. And I said months ago I wanted buttons that said white people scare me. I had been saying this repeatedly. The buttons are 6 cents. I really wasn't asking for $1 billion. I wasn't asking for, a white woman, a cheeseburger even. I asked for a 6-cent button that said the same fucking thing he just said 3 times. I just wanted to wear that to tell the truth. That's all. And now you're saying it, I don't know, with some trepidation about which shows something. Either I'm a fucking superhero for having a radio show and being black and saying what you have some fear in your heart about doing, and you're an Asian person, like either we should be just as mad or there's a clear difference in the level of abuse, which is the heart of why this show happened, is that I feel it is critical to note, yes, everyone who is not white is a victim of white supremacy. However, the darker the people are, they are subjected to far worse treatment, and this is worldwide. Let's put him on to the Asian person. Make sure you get it into the audience, please.
All right.
You should call in with your shit.
I got no phone.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can call in. Have the other number. Yeah, he's going to call in so we can be a little clear about this. That way it'll be a little more live because you can hear at the same time. But yeah, this is an Asian male. That's Freudian slip. I was about to say female. But yeah, this is an Asian male, victim of white supremacy. He was vital in assisting with the Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing show. He was very sick that day. Tried it all the way out from fucking Bellevue to do the show with Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing. And I think more than one black person was upset about that. And I told them that was incorrect, that this was a victim of white supremacy, and he was the reason the show happened in the first place. He was the only reason. Yes, a black person.
Oh,
and
I remember that. Yeah.
This is at the core too, because you should be able to say, I understand why he would feel like that. I understand why he would feel like that, and I'm saying it's incorrect. Excuse me. But I am saying, as a black person, it is understandable.
We can put it on speaker.
Oh, okay.
Is this first time we call it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's cool. You could do it like this if you wanted to on speaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
it might. Well, I think as long as two people are not on speakerphone, it should be okay. It should be okay. I know speakerphone does cause this. Are you calling in? Oh, I need a switchboard. I can't get your call on unless you have let's have a switchboard. So we'll have to do it this way. I forgot about that. But if we had a key laptop, if we were a little wider, maybe if all three of us or all four of us were Asian, perhaps one of us would have a laptop and we could do the switchboard and take callers. If anyone is listening live, yeah, but you won't be able to talk on your phone because I don't have a switchboard to, But yeah, the crux of this, as I said, there was a black male victim of white supremacy who was upset during the Dr. Francis Cress Welsing show that this Asian male was asking questions, and he was saying that, you spend a lot of time. It was mostly black people listening to the show. This is not the Asian talk hour. He was very upset about that, and I was saying that I told him that was incorrect. You are a victim of white supremacy just like I am, and you asking what I thought was great questions that other people told me they benefited from, that they used some of the suggestions that she gave you with the questions that you asked. And I said it was beneficial, and you were the whole reason the show happened in the first place. But this black male being upset about that is understandable because he is subjected to a lot worse treatment because he is black, and that is
I didn't really care they said that. Because overall, it's like I've known since a very young age that although it sucks to be non-white, it also really sucks to be black.
Why is that?
Because they just have a horrible existence in every area of their life, and to the worst degree, and like more systemic than anything. It's like we just like in every area of human activity, like the code says, nearly fuller, where every area of your life is dominated by people classified as white, which is basically this construction of identity based on numerous features that white people make up to dominate everyone classified as non-white, and they do it most likely for genetic survival because white plus non-white genetics equals non-white genetics. So people who make it hardest to be have a phenotype of white and still take non-white genetics into the genetic recessive population that has a plethora of diseases that only affect them because due to inbreeding. And that is why people are classified as black, who are really just people with more melanin in their skin and certain features that have been passed down through, like, I don't know, just by people having been separated by millions of years in human history. It has no real biological basis because evolution is like ridiculously slow. And then that's why people classified as black or people with darker skin are treated to a much higher degree of mistreatment in every area on the basis of just being classified as black and looking a certain way, which white people define. Because really, everyone discriminates, but we are told the value of what all these differences mean by people classified as white through everything we see, through everything we read, everything we learn, the language that we talk about, things that we hear. And because of this fact, every individual on the planet is most systematically taught how to understand themselves and people around them through a system called racism, white supremacy. And that is why once you understand this, you understand the context of your life and understand society and how it works, how it functions. And you understand how basically white people run the planet, even though they're only 8%, and they are genetic recessive. and they just need to survive. Otherwise, they'll be extinct. Fucking white power is ridiculous because it depends on non-white genetics to survive. They study how to solve diseases that really only affect them, and they go to the moon while most non-white people can't really even feed themselves or create healthy living environments for the children. And as white people have said, it's like children raising children due to the stunting of maturity and growth due to the victimization as under a system of white supremacy. And so basically, non-white people as a whole need to take stock of how the system of racism and white supremacy affects the entire life and do something in response to it. Even if you don't want to fight it, at the bare minimum, if you understand it, you will live a better quality of life because you will understand the realistic conditions in which you're subjected to all the time, everywhere, in every circumstance.
Could you give us real-life application of how being informed about white supremacy aided you, even if you weren't directly trying to combat it, but just has helped you have better quality of life as a result of being informed about white supremacy, the system of white supremacy?
Very quickly, I can discern from people who speak what they really mean by understanding a system of white supremacy and the symbolism behind it and the tropes they have taught and they keep up all the time. Basically like a secret way to talk about an idea. So once you understand the system of racism, it's like having like a translator for like a foreign language. And so basically understanding white supremacy, racism, you understand what people really mean when they speak and under what context they're talking from. And so that gives it a whole new meaning to the same exact words that you were hearing all the time. And so more specifically, like depending on how someone, or like for example, like in a class, and they say two things that contradict, and a lot of times you just may not understand why. Like for example, if they tell you in a classroom that it is essential to talking about racism and white supremacy to understand anything in the text, and then later at a time when you are speaking about racism and white supremacy, they shut you off and tell you to be quiet. Yet they don't explain, and then they give you a lower grade, can't justify any of it, and tell you to leave your office. You can understand how they would react because the system of racism and white supremacy where they are designed to mistreat you and not be honest with you, not really trying to confront you about things. So I feel like Asian people, I've noticed that people who have darker skin who are classified as Asian, they get treated much worse. Like, I understand that I'm non-black, but I also understand that I'm non-dark-skinned Asian. Although I've gotten, like, more tan, and everyone I talk to, it's like, the first thing they say to me is, like, you got darker. Like, that's consistent ever since I went to a very sunny place and got tan. Like, the first thing anyone says to me that they haven't seen me since I come back is, you got darker. You got darker. You got darker.
And it's not with the impression that this is a good thing.
It's very subtle, but I think the overall connotation is negative. But it's like, but then they realize that they might be being racist because, like, dark, black, racism, bad. So they're just like, try to hide it. So, like, basically, understanding racism and white supremacy also has the impact of alienating you from people if you speak truthfully because of the condition to run away from it and not be able to accept it. And being subjected to that kind of like mental oppression just translates into other areas. And I think racism and white supremacy, the truth is really powerful that does both damage and lots of good, but that's pretty much everything else. And so taking the scope of things, it gives you like a lens in which you can see something true in your life to make a better decision. But ultimately, the decision is up to the individual, whether they choose to say that this condition is so oppressive, nothing else to do except try to end it, or they're so victimized that all they want to do is reduce the victimization. Either way, understanding racism and white supremacy would aid in fulfilling both of these ideals. So in the end, all non-white people would best be helped by understanding context of their lives in the society in which they live, which is a society based on, in every way, shape, and form, awesome power people are called white, the system known as white supremacy, also called racism. People classified as white also have code names like Caucasian, European, mixed. But then if you ask them, do white people think you're white? That's the real important question. Because people can lie. Jewish is another code term. They just switched it up on us. Same with Irish. These people are really tricky with the language. That's why you have to educate yourself to understand the context of the environment. And the way to do that is to read books and understand language so you can understand things in the environment. And I think more non-white people need to stop running from truth and realize how much of their life is habitual and in denial. And we like to drown ourselves in escapism because truth is too hard to face. And knowing that, we still run from it, I think is a big sign that our state is so oppressive that we'd rather lie to ourselves and tell us the truth. I think everyone would behoove in getting to know themselves and getting to know the environment they live in and getting to know how that environment has been completely controlled and created and formed for white people for the purposes of racism, white supremacy. And if you're classified as anything but white, non-white, or any of the code terms, you are a victim of racism, white supremacy, and that precludes you from ever being a racist. Essentially, you as a non-white person can never be a racist person, and because of what racist means. They have to benefit from the system of racism, they have to practice racism, and they have to support a system that helps them. The non-white individual would say the exact same thing as a white person, and these things were both considered racist. Like, for example, earlier, a non-white individual classified as black, victim of racism, white supremacy, said the word nigger, referring to someone who is also called so-called black. But if a white person said the exact same thing, even though the exact are exactly the same, because of the context of the society in which you live, which is society based on white supremacy and racism, we would essentially be blaming a victim of this condition, and that makes no sense. The victim of a crime cannot also be the perpetrator. Someone stole your backpack, you cannot logically also be a thief in the backpack scenario. So in essence, that's why victims of racism, all non-white people, cannot be racist. They can discriminate, they can be prejudiced, they can believe that all black people are scary, they can believe that all Asian people are good at math, and that, like white people were in America. But at the end of the day, people classified as white dominate and manipulate everything we do, condition us like animals. They do experiments to understand us. They can move around their genetics. They are figuring out how to survive better, even though they inbreed. And they are slowly taking non-white genetics into their population in order to survive, because they, through their science, have figured out that they are genetic recessive, and they fight that constantly in every area of life. And I don't know what the future will hold, but I feel like the symbolism is that, like, the new white is like white plus really, really little bits of Asian genetics. So I think white is going to slowly to evolve to be changed a little bit, because it always changes, like in feature. I think like white scientists know that how eugenics works, and they're slowly putting together the ideas of eugenics plus society, how it's structured to take genetics of people who are light-skinned within 1 or 2 generations can return to being white at a rate in which society can evolve and change to change what white means. I feel like movies like Matrix, where it has someone who's part Asian.
He has a white parent and a non-white parent. The architect and
I'm saying in the Matrix, the architect and the Oracle are the parents of Neo. They're talked about as he even says, if I'm the father, then she's the mother, referencing the oracle. And Keanu Reeves, for the record, is to have a white parent and a non-white parent, and is so-called Korean even, I believe. Is that correct?
I'm not sure, actually. Yeah, I've heard that before, but I can't really corroborate it with anything.
I could be incorrect. He sneezed 2 times.
Yeah.
Sneezing
White
of
supremacy stress response. My health has been compromised as a result of the stress I'm induced. Psychic.
And he's not black.
Yeah, the psychic stress.
He's not black.
Psychic stress.
Hey, this is serious, because this is the crux of the show. And he's not black, because I have been chided more than thrice about saying, and not even all the time, just I do state for the record, it is true that the darker the non-white person, the more you're subjected to mistreatment. And I have a non-white person who is non-black who chided me at times, even though I believe I started this person understanding that non-white is the correct term to use. And I use that, I would say, probably about 90% of the time that I talk about racism, white supremacy, correct? Okay. So, but yeah, I did point out from time to time that being black sucks. And he, I thought, acknowledged that tonight, and I wanted to get that captured for posterity's sake. So we have an informed, he says he's smart, whatever that means. Smart.
Ability to get what I want.
Say it again.
Ability to get what I want.
Okay, that's his definition for smart. Yeah. So he agreed. I thought black people are treated worse than other lighter non-white people, and I wanted to get that.
I think the darker the skin, the worse you're treated. Okay. I think they classify black as being a certain thing that's constantly evolving, so they're just having to make up races and just they're just fucking around too much, and everybody's just mating in these countries that are mixed, and so that they just come up with new categories. Now it's just fuck it. The darker you are, the worse you are. The lighter you are, the better you are, because essentially people who are black are just people who are classified as dark skinned.
So we're getting a call, and we're going to connect 2 phones so we can have a 4th non-white speaking.
Oh, okay. That's gangster. That's gangster.
Let me back up.
Oh, we're switching phones. So.
Here we go. Let's
Oh, okay. We're figuring it out. Oh, okay. I got it. Wow, we got it.
Can you hear me?
Forgive us. We're technical. We got to sit. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm live on the show.
Yes, I can hear you. Oh, yeah, you are. Okay, we're live. Okay. So continue. You were explaining darker, more mistreatment.
Yeah, so basically in the system of white supremacy, it's just tied to the trope of darkness. That's one way people look at race and racism. They look at it as skin color because it's tied to a shade. It's just really a contrast of darkness and lightness. It's not really about color. But it's tied to this idea of color, which is tied to skin color. So people often misunderstand racism as discrimination based on skin color. But really, it's about it's a lot more complex. And they just use overall white and non-white, and then they separate and divide all non-white people so that they each have their own problems, that they cannot understand each other, that they have all these barriers in between them to be able to communicate on an honest, open level. People are victimized. That's why they always mistreat each other. People cannot get along. It's due to the result of the stress response from victimization under the system of white supremacy, which affects every area of life and makes your life much more difficult. And so in response to this, it only makes sense to understand the context of your life in order to understand how to best
we want to get clarity on we don't want you to be white here. This is important. So we want to be Twitter efficient. Twitter, you only get 140 characters to get your point across. There was a white man who said Twitter is successful because if you really know what you're talking about, you can say it in 25 words. So we really want to make sure that we get that you felt it was correct and accurate to
say that if you are darker, a black person in the system of white supremacy, you are subjected to far worse treatment, that would be a true statement. If you have 25 words that can home run that as an honors English student, English major.
Okay. Being black in a system of white supremacy, as good as white people have it, white is the opposite of black. Black people have it the worst. They are subjected to the most severe mistreatment in scope and depth, and it affects absolutely everything they do, everything they think, how they understand themselves, how they understand the world they live in, how they relate to each other, how they understand values and thought and existence. This is all predicated on things that white people have engineered and crafted for them to uphold a system of complete and utter dominance over people classified as black. And they use the entire globe for their own purposes. They extract things in different ways, in labor, and in certain areas where people classified as black do not serve them anymore in terms of labor. They devise ways to divide them and enslave black people through the prison system, enslave other non-white individuals through a system based on money and so-called capitalism that essentially degrades their life by extracting the labor and giving them the lease. So you're taking advantage of them systematically where they can survive, but only if they produce for people classified as white. So in essence, it is a complete system of domination for everyone, and it's being black is most definitely the most overt, blatant victims of racism. People understand how bad racism is through the one thought that they understand how bad it is to be black and how much they would not want it. And that should speak volumes if people really thought about why this value, this great disparity in difference, the huge gap in the value of life is created on the sole basis of something that is just completely made up by people called white. Like that just really needs to be taken into consideration given how much power and knowledge and control and money and information and systems and businesses and corporations and films and books and laws and resources they have to control everyone is insane, and this should really be taken into consideration when living your existence on this planet called Earth, because being dominated by humans, individuals that have defined humanity as white, that humans white, all non-white is non-human. That's why they don't lose sleep when they think about mistreating non-white people, because they define them as non-human, non-equal. And so,
wait a minute, I want to ask you a question here, and I want to point out because non-white people, in my view, I agree, and I hold white people to the same criterion. So this is, you are an intelligent person, so I want to hold you to the whiter standard, the higher standard. I would not allow a white person to ramble with a question. So I will hold you to the same standard, and non-white people get upset with me when I allow guests to kind of go off question, because it can be difficult to remember where things started at. And I asked you a specific question about black people being treated worse, and it got way far away from there, even though it was, accurate information that I agree with and feel is very important. That's why I'll let you.
Well, I mean, I have to understand the context of this conversation. Are you interviewing me, or are we just speaking what we think and taking turns?
Well, either way, if I was asking a question, I would still want a pretty. I would want efficiency in the exchange. Like, particularly if I ask you an important question that's specific, I would want that to, get really broad.
Well, do you feel like? My purpose of also going into the broad is to connect things and ideas so that it's more believable rather than just validate one truth. But because this is true, it also has implications for them, so it makes a message that both they can relate to. It also connects your condition of oppression. So I wasn't trying to broaden the topic to take away from the harshness of black people's conditions in every area of human activity through just individual interactions and just thoughts about what it means to be black without ever even having come into contact with someone who is classified as black. That is a ridiculous amount of power that plays out and manifests everywhere in everything, and the conditioning is so deep that as much as we understand what it means to be white, we are also conditioned to understand what it means to be black. And people are pitted against each other to just completely dominate them. And
oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm certain. Like I said, I did not disagree with the information that was being presented, but it, like I said, it was a longer response than if a white person had been talking, I would have stopped them and said the same thing. I would have said, you know.
But they're saying if a white person, but I'm not a white person.
Right, and I said before I said anything, I said I'm holding you to a higher standard because I respect your ability to think logically, and particularly as it relates to white supremacy. So I'm holding you to a higher standard. It's kind of as opposed to a backhanded compliment. It's kind of I'm challenging you to be as refined as white people are with the way that they talk about white supremacy, but for you to do so in a manner that helps the non-white team and is most constructive for us. And you know, when I talk, what do I say when I talk to David Allen? Give it to me so that a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old can get that. Isn't that what we said to David Allen?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I'm holding you to the same criterion. Give it to me so that, you know, so that my man's daughter can get it at 9. You know, like that's important because we got language deficiencies. We're not, you know, honors.
Okay. So it's not about me being broad. It's about me being too complex and non like basically through the language I'm using, it's not conveying my message most effectively.
It could be made easier to get what you're saying. Like what you're saying, if truthfully what I would say, what you're saying, a white person would grasp that better because it is skilled and it is correct and it is what would be pleasing to a white person. And it's closer to the way white people talk in terms of the way it's structured. It's not incorrect at all. It's very powerful.
Oh shit! Hey, I had this revelation right now. So you know how people think in language?
Yes, sir.
And so basically, what's a reflection of someone's understanding of language? It's how
the
they
way
talk.
They talk. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's how they speak. What the physical manifestation of language is, which is speech. And so, basically, in order to communicate to someone, you need to speak to them on a level in which they speak, because that's essentially how they think. So if you think more in like symbols and or metaphors, and that makes a lot of sense. You can apply that versus like understanding it through these, or actually not metaphors, but like understanding it through words that do not have like easily understandable definitions or connections, or like phrases of putting together the structure of a sentence, like that impedes. Because if different people use different words and different ways of thinking, then through the symbols that orient how they think about stuff, then I don't know. I was just thinking that like it's crazy how like the difference in language makes it difficult to communicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And what I'm saying, what you just said, I feel like is an inefficient way of saying there's a gap between the way white people talk and non-white people talk, and you sound a lot closer to the way white people talk. And so to compensate for that gap, it would be helpful if you could speak so that a 7-year-old would understand what you're saying. I think you would convey a lot more of your meaning, and you would be much more efficient in communicating with victims who are most in need of what you have to say. Twitter. that would work. What I just said would work much better for Twitter than what you just said. I think I could even be a little better. I was thinking when we spoke last, Jerron, victim of white supremacy, and Jay, victim of white supremacy, was talking, and we were talking about victim of white supremacy. We were speaking earlier about efficiency with words, and we were saying in terms of just how white people are very skilled at being able to confuse your understanding. They're slick with words, They're really able to easily just embarrass and clown on us with words, and non-white people could really reduce a lot of that if they had a little more efficiency in how they speak about, particularly having definitions. Like we saw that, fall apart today, not having definitions on terms. If we could just be a little more efficient, I think that would cut down on some of the confusion, make our communication a little better. I could be incorrect. And I need to work on that too. I think that, because like I said, a non-white person just told me that they were upset with Mr. Fuller, even though this person had indicated that, they found a lot of his information very constructive, very helpful, that he, in answering questions at times, can ramble a little bit, is not concise in responding. And, I've heard other people say that. This is not the first time I've heard it. I, too, have noted, at times asking questions, he does ramble. He is not. You even said that when we spoke with him one time, the so-called Asian person, that, he is a little wordy. However, I felt he was, giving constructive information. And more importantly, I had not planned to speak with Mr. Fuller that day. I had planned to speak with another victim of white supremacy. Mr. Fuller was gracious enough to fill in and just chat. And I really wasn't prepared. If I had been prepared, I may have asked him. I may have preempted it using my man's advice. I may have preempted Mr. Fuller and told him that I had a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, and if we could get to as many as possible, if he could kind of, make his answers a little more brief so we can get as many questions as possible, I would have made an attempt to, try to get him to be a little tidier with his responses. But I wasn't prepared to interview him, so I didn't utilize that technique. But under ordinary circumstances,
I'm a victim of racism, white supremacy. I am non-white, and I'm back at the bus. And I could listen to Mr. Fuller because every time I listen to Mr. Fuller, I learn.
What do you learn?
I learned about the system of racism, white supremacy, and I learned about myself. And I learned about constructive things I can do to end the system of racism, white supremacy.
Can you share maybe 3 constructive suggestions or ideas that you got from Mr. Fuller that you think have aided your understanding of white supremacy or how you function as a non-white person in the system of white supremacy?
Yes. You can give 3. Do not mistreat other than white people. Non-white people should not mistreat other than white people. Not mistreat anybody. I believe were the words of Mr. Fuller when asked on the subject, but I could be incorrect. And I encourage every non-white person to listen to the last Cow Show episode featuring Mr. Fuller. Repeat.
We were cut off. We're non-white. White people might have bonked us. That is to be expected if you are going to battle the most powerful people in the known universe.
Hey, but you got to keep going.
Back of the bus was giving us his suggestions that he learned from reading the compensatory code book. You had said mistreating non-white people. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
You were giving us 3.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Say, not engage in sex with white people. Number 3. That's simple.
Layup.
Correct.
We can get a layup.
The queen. Yes, correct.
We'll get a layup.
No, man. No, definitely. I think.
We're going to get that. I'm going to do a PSA. Oh, my God, I can plug a future show. Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. will be on the couch Saturday. That's going to be a phenomenal episode. He let me hang out at the Bush School yesterday with very, very, very rich, suspected racists. They had
people classified as white.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't ask. Let me clarify. I didn't ask. That's why I will say I suspect that they are white, and I suspect that they could be racist. So I don't know if they all would say that they are white, but I suspect. I know Dr. Moore was telling me, I'll ask him. Tune in for Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, to hear what Dr. Moore had to say about racism, white supremacy. But yeah, check that show out. And I wanted to plug with CHID. There is going to be a show coming up, probably live from the CHID after party. CHID is the Comparative History of Ideas at the University of Washington. They are having their CHID 260 Rethinking Diversity class. I'm going to do a skit at this performance. It will be my second time performing on the CHID 260 stage. First time addressing counter-racism directly. I'm going to do a public service announcement for my skit, and I'm going to also plug that night. I'm going to plug the live broadcast from the CHID after party. I believe it's going to be the first Friday in June. Definitely want to tune in for that. I'm going to request that any white person who comes on the program shares a racist joke, and then they can talk about anything that I say or have said and how they feel about diversity and all that good stuff. But they got to tell us one racist joke. I have seen this has very interesting effects in talking to white people about racist jokes, getting constructive information. Did you have your third suggestion, sir? Back of the bus?
Yes, I do.
No sex. No mistreating non-white.
3. And I'm not putting any more importance on one than the other. But number 3 is serious. Respect all white people of practicing racism.
Even the white person you're having sex with?
Definitely the white person you're having sex with.
Definitely. Wow.
It's the most logical. People call sex lovemaking. If you look at the language, see what love is. It's an irrational attraction. People call it lovemaking because it creates an irrational attraction. Literally, through the experience of sex, you create a certain way of connecting, like an emotional feeling to a symbol of, or an experience, and a white person. So you essentially everything of how you think gets changed, and you deteriorate your understanding of racism and white supremacy on a logical level. You still constantly have a contradiction. The victims of racism should not have sex with suspects racist. I don't know. I'm black. I'm black, and I'm struggling to keep up. But
struggling to keep up. What do you mean?
Oh, words. A lot of words.
Oh, the steps. Well, this is what I was saying earlier. You asked me about what I said, and I'd say
the non-white person would be insane.
Okay. What I was saying was that, and I'm guilty of this myself. I'm still learning, and I'm black. Ugh.
I'm black.
Yeah, but I'm black. That's a lot worse than being. It's bad all around. It's worse to be black. Now, what I was saying is Twitter is effective because with Twitter, that's all I want. That's all I want. I don't hear about North Face or anything else. I don't want to hear. Don't be saying it's tough to be black. It's true. That's all I want. Yeah, that's true. Sorry about that.
What? Did you really say that? Did you argue with him when he would say that? When Black Jim would say it's tough to be black, were there times that you said, "Oh, but you're just non-white, I'm non-white too"? Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
He's saying yes, that he did. And would you say that is incorrect?
But, it is not incorrect.
It's not incorrect to say that if someone is saying I'm black and I'm treated worse, it is not incorrect to tell that person that they should not be saying that.
No. I'm saying it's correct to say that a black person who says they're being treated worse because they're black should be allowed to because it's true.
Okay, but if that person, that black person, is criticized for saying that, would the person who's doing the criticizing be doing something that is incorrect?
They would be incorrect because they would be denying someone's ability to express a very true fact that decides the quality of their life in many areas. Right?
So when you said that I should not be saying black people are treated worse than other non-whites, that was incorrect for you to say that I should not be saying that.
Yeah.
Okay. Maturity. I don't expect this from those non-white people. I have known this particular victim for quite a while, and generally we don't even have this discussion. I mean, this is not. Would you say this is like never a topic we really talk about that much in the scope of how much we talk?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I feel like it's so bad to be black that if they don't want to talk about being black and people don't want to hear about it, then I feel like they should really be able to do and say whatever they want. But yeah, I don't really talk about this. But I feel like I know in the abstract, but then it totally changes when you see it in manifested in real life in individuals that you know, on a more direct level than indirect. I feel like you are really composed, like you were saying, so you try to present a certain image of self, because at the end of the day, it's like most functional, because people, again, don't want to hear about racism, white supremacy, or like how bad it is to be this or that. I think it really is part of the conditioning, because I see like a pattern of behavior where in exchange for being more treated better physically in a system of racism, white supremacy, and materially, you're conditioned on a different way, because not only do you identify as non-white, but you also identify as non-black. This is also an important part of your identity. I think the way that you view and see the world and people is deeply shaped by racism, white supremacy. I'm trying to remember what my original point was there.
That's another part of being concise. You run into that problem a little less. But again, Neely Fuller was criticized for doing the same thing, so it's not like, any non-white person that I know of.
I'm a victim of racism.
Me too. All of us, 4 victims of white supremacy. But it would, I think, be constructive if when we codified being concise in how we speak about racism, white supremacy.
Yeah, I think that would be most productive and efficient.
Twitter, white supremacy.
Yeah, we're totally told to not be able to communicate effectively and efficiently to have goals. And so everyone already has adopted a behavior, so they need to adopt behavior, codified behavior that benefits them, knowing and understanding racism. So I think people would benefit to talk to other people about about racism, white supremacy in a productive manner. I think by discussing it, we'll always generate something more, and no one should shun away from it. And if you do, you should really question why it is that you do that. Because if you run away from a powerful truth in your life, you and all the people that you know do the same thing. I mean, that upholds the system of racism, white supremacy.
Would you say that's testament to how awesome white people are?
Yeah, I think white people are the most amazing individuals on the planet. I think they beat Superman.
They are Superman.
I think they beat Jesus.
They are Jesus.
They are Jesus, yeah.
You don't care.
I was like, the most amazing people on the planet. They're the smartest. They're the best. They're the most beautiful. They make the best shit. they live the best way, they ball out of control.
But we're still not going to have sexual intercourse with them because it's just not the correct thing to do. And that's one thing I haven't touched on a bunch, but we were talking to a non-white person earlier.
I feel like non-white people are so conditioned that you feel natural to be attracted to white people, and you treat them better in every way. And we like our oppressors, Stockholm syndrome. I think people find that oppressed people will do things to benefit their oppressor under certain manipulated control situations, and by having sex with them, it's the worst thing you could possibly do ever. If you are a non-white individual and you feel as a victim of racism, you want to have sex with a racist person. That is the most simple, personal thing that they can't really take away from you, and there'd be an outrage for. And it's genetic survival. These other motherfuckers need us, and we give it to them. It's like, they need us, and we give it to them.
This is going to come up. So would you say that as a non-white person, it would be fundamental, like should be instilled from kindergarten up, no sexual intercourse with a white person because it is incorrect and has devastatingly adverse consequences for the non-white person?
Yes, that is most definitely true. Non-white people should not have sex with white people under any circumstances. I mean, white people conquer us because they say live free or die. We are becoming enslaved and raped every time white people have sex with us.
Monsters Ball?
Plus, like all the movies with sex scenes.
Monsters Ball is Pulp Fiction. That's my new thing. I'm using that. Monsters Ball is Pulp Fiction. Back of the bus.
Well, Benjamin Button is Forrest Gump.
Break that down.
I don't know. I heard this YouTube video that just breaks it all down. It just shows one scene, and it shows one scene, and then it explains it, and then it shows the symbolism and something. One scene is the exact same movie.
Wow. I
so
thought...
you say Pulp Fiction in that one, I agree, because they just show the same images, the same tropes, the same ideas. You just break down symbolism. This is why white people are so crying. It's like, they just like feel the symbols. They just show them all and like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know what you're saying, but I get it. It's just like, no, you're retarded and you don't understand. Victim. That's what victimization will do. It will retard you. Like, it will slow you down. It will stunt your growth.
And part of coming out of that would be being able to truthfully deal with truthfully deal with the fact that we are in a system of white supremacy that is hostile to people that are classified as not white. Back to us.
That is correct. That is most definitely correct. To understand yourself and the world you live in, that's important. Knowledge yourself. Yeah. You must absolutely understand the system of racial and white supremacy. That's knowledge. Okay, so that's two things. You need knowledge of yourself and knowledge of... Yeah, you need knowledge of context of your life, which is racism, white supremacy.
C.O.W.S is context of white supremacy. Context is everything. We have an honors English student, English major. Context is everything. Martin Kevorkian, admitted white supremacist, pointed that out as well. Context.
Yeah, because ultimately you're creating meaning, and meaning is created by all these different things, including, most importantly, context. So not understanding racism will confuse you about everything else you understand about society and yourself. So you just won't understand it. And any contradiction you have in your life, test into the fact. Start looking around you and start seeing things that do not make sense. And then be like, hey, is this racism, white supremacy at its most effective level?
Most intimate level.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Like,
that's a reference to the stage of white supremacy known as refinement. You know, how many stages are there?
I've been told 4 stages of racism, white supremacy: establishment, maintenance, expansion, refinement. Number 4, in my view, I could be incorrect. Number 4 being worse because you are in a system of white supremacy that you do not correctly perceive to be a system of white supremacy. And as a result, your thought, speech, and action are not reflective of the fact that I'm in an environment that's hostile to me. And, I mean, that has devastating consequences, I think all of us would attest to. Yes, Lance?
Yes, absolutely true.
That is correct.
That is the case.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Yep.
In every way, shape, or form. Completely and totally.
I heard a suspect, actually an admitted racist, known as Anthony Hamilton. Excuse me?
He is in greater confinement, unless I had received false information. He is in greater confinement.
Anthony Hamilton?
He is in greater confinement unless I have been, given some bad information. Role violation.
He said, I believe you were president also. Correct me if I'm right. We work harder.
Oh, Eric. I thought you said Anthony.
Oh, I did say Anthony.
Okay.
What's that, racist?
Eric Hamilton.
You're talking about somebody different now.
Eric
Are you
Hamilton.
talking about Eric Hamilton?
Eric Hamilton.
Eric Hamilton, yes. Admitted racist to work at the University of Washington.
Okay,
He's a
that's
graduate
Eric.
student
Okay, yeah.
pursuing his PhD.
He's
an undergraduate advisor for the diversity minor.
Yes.
You say that again. Say that again.
He's an undergraduate advisor for the diversity minor.
Diversity minor is an
he's
admitted white
I
supremacist.
suspect he's working in the refinement stage of practicing racism, white supremacy.
He admitted to having sex with a non-white person.
He did not agree to not engaging in sex with a non-white person.
But what he did say is that he felt that would be an effective strategy to combat white supremacy, and he said white people would respond with violence if a significant number of non-white people said, I'm not going to have sexual intercourse with a white person as long as the system of white supremacy
the best
exists.
place to start is if you're currently in one, get out of it right now.
And analyze.
That is correct. Currently, there are some victims of white supremacy.
Beneficial thing to do in your life.
That is correct. I believe a victim of white supremacy has a list that has been compiled. We're not sure if it's up to date. Correct me if I'm incorrect. But there's a list of non-white faculty at the University of Washington who are engaged in sex with white people, suspected racists. Is that correct?
I probably don't have everyone, but I have said for some time this is important information, and I have made an effort to catalog as I find out, as I'm presented with more names. So I'm sure it's incomplete, but it has been started.
And it can be completed.
Oh yeah. I would need information.
We should notify them about 4 things. Oh, this gentleman. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to stop this show right here. All right, this gentleman's about to leave, and every time this non-white from the area of the world known as Asia talks about leaving, you said, or you don't say anything, you just raise your hand, and you symbolize the number 1, then you symbolize the number 2.
Mm.
Why do you do that?
Oh, I didn't do that just now.
No, you didn't do that just now, but I mean, why do you typically do that?
You said every time. It's like, God dog, I didn't. I know I did it earlier, symbolizing.
Every time I've observed him around you. So I could be incorrect every time.
I'll keep track. I'll keep track from now on, for sure. Or just trying to be more aware, which is important.
And not letting room for deception.
Ultimately. For sure.
Compensate.
Number 1, when I put up a number 1, strongest motivating force in the known universe, the system of white supremacy. Number 2. Second strongest motivating force in the known universe, sex. Number 2, number 1. Say that again?
That's why you shouldn't mix them, because you have fire and gasoline, and you're like, let me see what they can do together, and then not get burned.
Okay, so why do you say that when this non-white person from the area of the world known as Asia, or Korea, the non-white person from the area of the world known as Korea, looks at his iPhone?
I suspect at times it is related to male-female, which, I mean, we talk about things quite a bit. And so, and I've told him number 2 frequently does become a much more important motivating factor for non-white people
as opposed to number one, which is a central part of why the sexual intercourse piece is critical to your understanding of white supremacy and really your ability to counter white supremacy. But I frequently, and I have verbalized with this gentleman, number two frequently causes a lot of problems. I think I've said that a lot in his presence where he's asked me to explain, but that's the symbolism behind number one being white supremacy, number two being sexual intercourse.
That's interesting. Does that have, you like symbolism, is that correct? You said you
I think on the level that symbols signify certain ideas.
So what is that when Black Jim goes 1 and then 2, what does that symbolize in context to you specifically?
I think he's pointing out how my actions are being most motivated by 2 factors.
What are the 2 factors?
Racism, white supremacy is the first most motivating factor, and number 2 would be the sex trial.
I was just hearing 1 and 2. Oh, okay. 2 most powerful driving forces on the planet. Understanding ourselves as non-white people and understanding our environment, our enemy, is critical to understanding the system of racism, white supremacy. And I believe a third is logic. And I encourage every non-white person for a guide to understand logic and rehabilitate yourself from this environment of racism, white supremacy, to read the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept for victims of racism, white supremacy. By you, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.
You go to the last program, his book is right next to the description. You can click on it.
And I may have been incorrect in saying the title, but definitely listen to the last C.O.W.S. episode and read the description.
Oh, good. Gus T Renegade. His book is there. You click on the link. It should put the price up. I think you can even order it. White people are so crafty. If you click on the book, it should take you to Amazon.com. You can get your copy right there. Or you can go to counter-racism.com. Edward Williams. You can pick your copy up. It's there as well. And they have other Neely Fuller stuff, audio CDs and the like. Did you get to your third suggestion that you feel you took from the code? I know we had no mistreating other than not.
Yes. My third suggestion was to suspect all white people.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Of practicing racism and being racist.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
White people assume that all other white people are racist. So non-white people are victims of racism and white supremacy, victims of white people. They should also assume, like the white people, that all of them are racist, white supremacists.
We attended a meeting today, Husky Efforts Against Racism. They thought it was a cute acronym. Oh, right on.
He said he could do what? He said he could do what?
He could do the 1 and 2 finger.
Oh, I didn't know what that was.
Oh, which are like symbolically like I feel like 2 large areas that.
So 1 and 2 are what?
Are like the 2 largest motivating factors.
And they are
racism, white supremacy, and sex drives.
Okay. Like so were you putting your energy towards these 2 symbols, or one of these 2 symbols right now?
No. I was just referencing that as like a similar thing, but I was also saying that I have another like context that changes the meaning that is conveyed by speaking in a certain way. So as much as context creates the meaning of what is said, there's like, this doesn't have to be on this thing. I was just explaining an idea in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, I have someone that wants to sleep, and they're waiting for me to come back to sleep for tomorrow, so I gotta go.
Oh, that's correct. I was just referencing with the 2 powerful driving forces of white supremacy, being white supremacy. And as victims of racism, I believe we should put our energy towards countering the system of racism, white supremacy. And number 2, which is
having, I don't know, finding like a person to reproduce with. I think that's ultimately like.
I heard that basically Twitter was like white supremacy. That's correct.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's just what I want.
Twitter test. I like that.
Twitter test.
I
like this.
What I think was happening, just in terms of linguistics, I think.
I would even say Twitter says most powerful driving forces. Okay, no sex with white people. It sucks being black. That's it. And
that's like, I don't know, I feel like when you say those things, you mean a certain way of thinking that's not made clear of how that would like play out. So although I understand like the words you're saying, I don't exactly like know your thought behind those words. You know what I mean?
Context of white supremacy.
So you're saying that for you, all you have to say at this point is in the context of racial white supremacy.
I would give those 3 suggestions that I gave earlier on this program. And again, I would like to remind victims of racism and white supremacy to listen to the last C.O.W.S episode with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and read the description. There's a link to purchase the book there. Mm-hmm. That's all. I didn't mean to hold you up from going where you're going, but I don't want to.
Well, yeah, no, I'm all down for talking about it in general, but I was going to say that. Yeah.
Which reason?
Oh, I mean, it's not like, well, this is totally personal, but like, I guess it doesn't matter except it's recorded, but I'm not even like having sex. That's why I was like, I guess it's not really about just that. It's like, that's not.
I didn't say it.
Yeah. That's why I felt like it was most accurate to describe. Or I don't know if you were just saying it on just like an abstract level.
No, I just thought it was interesting and would be correct in referencing the most powerful driving forces on the planet, which we just talked about.
Sure.
1 and 2. Because I noticed every time that you picked up your iPhone, the non-white individual known as Black Jim would lift his one of his hands and symbolize a 1 and symbolize a 2. That's all. I had nothing else.
You're just noting that.
I don't know if it was every. That's the only thing I took issue with.
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't been around, so.
Yeah. You clarify what you said, but I guess I was trying to clarify what I perceived that what you may have meant, what you said. So that's why I guess I was misunderstanding what you said.
Those were a lot of words.
I didn't understand what you were trying to communicate with what you were saying.
Oh, again, just referencing the 2 most powerful driving forces.
No, I understand it now.
Okay.
I'm saying earlier I didn't understand what you said. All right. Well, have a good night, and hope that continues to be productive. Place white supremacy justice. No sex white people are racist.
Sucks to be black.
Sucks to be black. It's common sense. Like everyone operates.
That's a good Twitter. We should make a Twitter right now, as a matter of fact.
This is common sense in the context of white supremacy racism. All white people are racist.
And the white supremacy. That's Twitter right there. Yeah. Fuck it. And white supremacy.
And white supremacy.
Twitter.
Replace justice. Peace will go hand in hand.
It sucks to be black, even with Obama in the White House.
Maybe even more.
Maybe even more. Matter of fact, another thing I would suggest to victims of racism and white supremacy is and this also is in the code, is to minimize contact with non-white people.
Amen.
Woo! Thank you.
Amen. This is actually incredible that there are 4 victims
present. A black person said amen for doing something correct in the system of racism and white supremacy. I'm standing by a tree and I took a step back and I kind of stumbled. I was like, wow, that's rare. That's rare among black people.
Hey.
Man, did any black people say amen when Tim Wise was at Mount
Lots. They were very impressed.
Black people Man.
Very high standards here.
Black people say that to white people. No sex to white people, but also minimize contact. This is the other point. Minimize contact with other non-white people.
I wholeheartedly endorse. I actually have on my blog, avoid contact with non-white people.
Less is more.
Because non-white people don't interact Twitter.
For sure. And we're not
and we're not informed in an environment that is ultimately deceptive on many levels. And I think it's correct for victims of racism, when they do interact with non-white people, make sure they are non-white people with which you have correct interaction. You can speak about the system of racism, white supremacy, analyze it, understand it, and modify your behavior to counter it and ultimately reach a system of justice. But,
yeah.
I would agree.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
So that's all. But yeah, take care, sir.
All right.
Victim of white supremacy.
Yeah.
But I'm black and it sucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being black sucks. I'm sorry. Sorry to all black people.
But here's the interesting thing I did note, though. The only individual here who had to kind of sidestep for a minute and do was the person that at the beginning of the show, Black Jim pointed out was not black. I just found that interesting.
I think it's significant that that people are non-white and that people are non-black. These are very significant factors in your life.
I didn't say that. I just want to clarify that. That's all I said. Was that I caught that because at the beginning of the show, Black Jim,
Gus T Renegade.
Hey, he's on the nigger list too.
He's
on the nigger list. Yes,
victim.
Sir.
I'm on that list first, though. Victim of white supremacy.
Victim of white supremacy, as is me. Yes, sir. I. But at the beginning of the show, I pointed to this individual here, who is non-black, and he's from the area of the world known as Korea, and he spoke to him about why it is crucial to understand the difference between being black and being non-black.
Yes, sir.
In the system of racism, white supremacy. And again, this individual is the only person who has had to, or when he leaves, you symbolize one. And there's 4 victims of racism, white supremacy.
All black. 3 black.
3 black, correct. 3 niggas.
If you're in Vegas, play 3 black.
3 niggas right here. Yeah, these 3 niggas.
How are you, are you just pointing out observations?
Yes, sir, that's an observation. Has anyone ever called you a nigga?
Just as like a joke, I guess, but, well, yeah, I mean, I've never, been I know it's a joke because I myself, actually,
in day-to-day interaction, do you have individuals that say, nigga, shut the fuck up? Just a question. Okay, no. Just black people do that, is that correct?
Black people do what?
We'll just tell a non-white person to stop speaking.
Oh.
Use the term nigga and say shut the fuck up.
In great numbers, yes, sir.
Yes, I wasn't saying. I was just saying that's an observation that I pulled from observing black people. So I wasn't paying any more or less attention to anything that was going on here. I was just observing a black person interact with a non-black person, and on occasions when you look at your iPhone, excuse me, it may not have been every time, but I do remember observing him raising his hand in black and white.
Which is true.
So
not every though.
Okay. In what way were you applying the 1? That's you.
The 1 and 2 used to indicate strongest motivating force being white supremacy. Second strongest force being sexual activity, to indicate that those 2 motivations for non-white people, we have a very difficult time prioritizing, and because we're victimized, we inflict a lot of damage. In the second area especially, we inflict a ton of damage on each other.
So the
and
essential connection is you want to take a warning of make sure these don't two connect.
Or priorities, like Twitter priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think I've said to you frequently about how number 2 can frequently tends to overwhelm and we don't have our priorities correct on the non-white side, the victim side.
Yeah.
What we should be doing, which is
replacing white supremacy with justice immediately post-hate yesterday.
that was kind of like a hit. Sure. That's niggers.
Playoff time.
It is. Kobe.
They won.
Lakers.
I think Denver's going to, oh yeah, I wanted to get that in. We'll see if I'm informed. I'm picking Denver, and I'm going to cheat on Cleveland. I'll have to see a game, but I'm picking Denver, even though they lost tonight to win the series.
Who do you think will win overall?
I think Orlando has the best team. I agree, even though Charles Barkley, major error, he's married to a white person, and it shows. But I do say he is very informed about basketball. I guess that might be telling on myself. He and I frequently agree on picks. Often we're right there. He picked Orlando to beat Cleveland and the Cavs, so I'm kind of.
I could be incorrect, but don't the suspected racist on that show he's on? Is that show comes on ESPN? Is that correct?
TNT.
Excuse me. I don't have
I'm gonna go right now.
I don't have a television.
Have a good night. That's what I was going to come. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, Victor.
Yeah.
That's well, sir.
Yeah.
Place white supremacy.
Just Sexy Black.
Thank you. I know.
Sexy Black.
But place white supremacy with justice.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Priorities.
It sucks to be black.
Priorities. Man, it sucks to be black. Priorities.
For sure. For sure.
Let's get free. Priorities.
For sure.
Oh, another thing is that free and freedom, love, peace, happiness, joy, those are all the same thing. So to get all those things, we need to fight racial white supremacy.
Replace white supremacy with justice. Twitter.
Justice is the opposite of white supremacy.
Twitter. Correct.
Mr. Fuller actually says that. How about that? Great minds think alike, perhaps.
No, it's not that great minds think alike. It's that symbols of words have already been constructed to build truth of how we think and live. So that's why if you understand the symbols, you understand the truth of how we live.
Right. It's like being able to read a map. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's like a code where you read it, and it's like that's what they tell you. So this is how they communicate to you.
That's why victims of racism, white supremacy should read Mr. Fuller's book and listen to last week's episode of the C.O.W.S radio show with Mr. Neely Fuller.
Yeah. People are already conditioned to think a certain way, and so no matter what, we're conditioned to think a certain way. So we should choose ways to think that most benefit our life in the context of where we live, which is white supremacy, racism, everywhere, in all things. It's like to be black.
For sure. We know.
Right. Yeah. I really do feel like everyone should give black people a free pass to say and do anything they want ever. Okay. Except wait. Whoa.
Okay.
Except like kill people and like I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna
mistreat heavily.
I'm gonna ask. So I have a black pass.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
And you can tell me you don't want it. You can plead the fifth on it.
Okay. But it needs to be really quick. I already said I would go, but go really fast.
Okay.
Please.
Twitter is a person that you're sleeping with. Are you gonna be sleeping with the person tonight?
No.
Okay. Are you gonna be seeing a non-white woman tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Is she non-black, or is she
No,
black?
She's considered black.
Oh, she's considered black.
Well, actually, I think it's interesting because she herself doesn't consider herself.
Well, if the white people consider her black.
herself black.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. There's a system.
Functionally, she's black.
She's a victim of racism, and she's black.
Yeah.
And if this show started with this black person saying, this is the time to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's black. So at this time, I'd like to speak to the black woman and say, black males, we should be replacing the system of white supremacy with justice. That should be your number one priority. Non-white males, excuse me. That is correct. Correct, non-white males. But it sucks to be black, and because of the system of racism, white supremacy, most black males are not doing this. And I encourage non-white women to read a book written by a non-white black female victim of racism, white supremacy, known as Dr. Welsing, the ISIS Bakers. But go ahead.
So like, I just really need to go.
Oh, go ahead.
If you would ask me some more questions.
Oh, you can go.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
I just didn't want to be rude.
No, you're good. I just wanted. I got to Dr. Welsing, so it's good. Good.
I definitely agree. I endorse what these individuals, these sexually black so-called individuals, are saying, because it is truth that they evidence in every place, and that's really vital understanding how certain people.
And I think this is correct behavior to note that the non-white people who were black did not kind of sidestep at any time for anything to deal with the second most powerful driving force on the planet. I could be incorrect, and that is sex. But that's just an observation I wanted to put out there. But you can have a good evening, sir. And another thing I'd like to remind victims of racism, white supremacy, is to minimize contact. Definitely do that. And if you deal with victims of racism, black people, Twitter talk. That's what we need to do. Black people need to Twitter talk the truth.
A white woman, suspected racist, was talking about speaking to non-white people with language deficiencies, and she said, very short sentences, no big words. I wrote that down. It was at the city council meeting. White people were gentrifying, racially dislocating. But yeah, they endorsed Twitter talk, basically. I guess last word.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I'm retarded. I'm a black person. I'm a non-white person. Oh, wow, Black Jim, Gus T Renegade, excuse me, is saying not to worry about the white prompt at only 90 seconds or less. Yes. Earlier in the conversation, though, the phone did disconnect. Both we had two phones speaking on Blog Talk Radio, and they both disconnected. Is that correct?
Apparently so.
And we're non-white though, so we're not informed, but we don't know why they disconnected.
I don't
know. Oh, let's disregard it. See, I'm retarded. That was proof right there. I'm retarded. Yeah, I'm an old computer. This nigga's old.
Go slow.
Yeah, I'm the one at the side of the road.
Simple program.
Ferraris, Lamborghinis are going by. And there's a Stater Brothers.
Yeah, I never thought about linguistically how that works. I think
you're not black.
Yeah, I'm not black. So it doesn't, unless I critically think about it, and then try to see how that works, then it's not something that I have to think about.
Language gap.
No, not being black and all the things that come with it, language gap.
So you don't think about not being black. Disregard it. I got it. No, I got it this time. I'm a victim of racism, white supremacy. You should question everything I say. But if you listen back to this show, I was saying disregard it. I was saying that I'm a slow computer, but I got it the third time. Kind of like the three notches on the little pyramid. I got it that time.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I got it that time. Yeah, fuck that. It's hard. Minimize motherfucking contact, goddammit. Fuck that. Because I put effort into making contact. And being honest, fuck yeah, it's risky in the system of white supremacy, but I make effort to do it with non-white people. I do that consistently. And I'm a victim of racism, but this is a stress reaction, but I'm still trying to Twitter talk niggas, Twitter talk black people. Racism sucks. It sucks to be black. Twitter talk. I try to Twitter talk honestly, what I'm feeling, everything. But I think non-white people, we don't do that when we interact with each other. We don't Twitter talk.
We do Twitter though.
We do Twitter. We do all kinds of things in the. If racist in terms of that's correct. Black Jim has a Twitter. You should plug your Twitter.
Gus T Renegade.
Gus T Renegade. Excuse me. Okay. Back of the bus. Gus T Renegade.
Okay.
Do you mind if I mention?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say it's a different alias for yeah. it's a different alias for Gus T Renegade at a different locale in the system of white supremacy. But there's noises. But Twitter talk, in short.
Okay.
Twitter talk.
All right, in short, I gotta go, and I'll see you guys later. It was good talking. I enjoyed hanging out. Yeah, I think we should definitely have more productive conversations. I think good advice.
It sucks to be black. It does. Minimize contact and be direct in interactions. Twitter talk with all non-white people on every level.
I really gotta go. That's my Twitter talk.
And this is the Twitter talk. It's like personal, you know what I mean? Twitter talk. And this is a non-black person leaving Twitter talk.
Alright.
Non-black person going to Twitter talk. Yeah. Twitter talk.
Alright. You hang out. Alright. Alright. I'll see you later.
Definitely, man. Should definitely continue to replace white supremacy with justice. Hey, what? There's non-black and non-white people here, and I'd like to say that for two individuals that have lived in the system of racism, white supremacy, in my lifetime, and in my knowledge, lifetime of all non-white people on the planet, I would like to tell Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I appreciate the work they have done in writing their two books, The ISIS Papers, which is authored by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and Mr. Fuller's book, in short, The Code. And again, I want to remind all non-white people to listen to the last episode of the C.O.W.S radio show. And the non-black person has to go. Okay. So we could.
You get another question.
Yeah.
A white person would dip.
I'll see you later.
We'll catch you.
Oh wow, a white person would dip. Why did you say that?
What would white people do?
Oh, wow.
That's what we always do. Like, I'm looking at white people. What would a white person do in that situation? A white person would leave. They would be business-like. Gonna go.
Minimize contact. That's correct.
A white person would have been gone.
I know.
He's still showing his victimization because a white Ed Campbell was like, yep.
Like I don't know. I think I'm like reading. I don't know. I think I may be. I think this is a manifestation of my victimization. But I think that even though functionally I know a certain way, I think like the way I think about the situation is affected by the conditioning of racism and white supremacy. And so the context I take with these words mean different things to me because of how I relate to racism and white supremacy. And there's also evidence suggesting that it's actually black.
Overwhelming evidence, I would say.
Overwhelming evidence. Yeah. All right.
Grooving.
Yeah.
White person would have been gone, not codified.
Yeah, I know.
White person wouldn't have done that.
Do you think the white way is the best way?
Well, I mean, I say white people are efficient. I know an alarming.
Okay, the most efficient way was me.
Yes, efficient. The most efficient thing to do would have been. That's what a white person would have done. Be well, sir. Efficient.
Do you think three words is the maximum amount for Twitter talk? Would that be correct?
3 words?
3 words.
Will you get? Oh, okay. I know with Twitter you get 140 characters. So Twitter you would get 140 characters to communicate whatever it is that you have to say.
Saying for non-white people, like simply to get things. For what that non-white person just told the non-white listeners, I think Twitter talk for black people, I would say simply, directly, and honestly.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think it's very important to try to get people to speak in a manner that's easy to grasp. Like 7-year, I always try to use the criteria.
And with that in mind, make effort to remind individuals of context.
Oh yeah,
even specific context. Be accurate with your words.
Sure. Accuracy with words. We talked about that with Martin Kevorkian, just the importance of being correct with what you say, and particularly if you're going to do counter-racism work. Seen a lot of people get in trouble for not doing
not saying the correct thing when addressing the system of white supremacy. We even observed that live in effect today. There was a meeting, counter-racism meeting, allegedly, and the individuals got through the bulk of their meeting and got to the end, and I asked, do you have, or someone asked if they had a definition for racism, and they said no. And I stopped and I said, well, wait a minute, you got the term racism in the title of this organization. How are you using this word in the title of your organization, and you don't know what the word means? And, it went into the head scratching, and the real disgrace of it was that there was not just a suspected racist who was one of the co-founders of this group. She's an English major, and she immediately acknowledged that she knew how important definitions are, and that is a major problem, not having a definition for a term they're using in the title of their group. So, I mean, yeah, and, the non-white person is, doing the head scratching, trying to excuse all this. And, it's like at the end of the day, you really got to have a great respect for words if you're going to address racism, white supremacy in a correct and effective manner. Not having correct definitions, I mean, you get into a lot of trouble. And I suspect that is a major reason why we have not made progress, not being precise with how we discuss racism, white supremacy. So just, emphasizing the importance of being correct, precise with what you say, how you say it. We'll see if Back of the Bus, he wants to make any additional commentary. Back of the Bus?
Yes, I think.
You had any additional thoughts, sir?
Excuse me, I was talking to this non-white man. I was a black person. I was talking to a black person. I was just noticing that the show was, started with that comment made that an individual is non-white, and he's non-black, a non-white person from the area of the world known as Korea, and the three non-black people, we never sidestepped or slowed down our rhythm. Three black people, correct. We never sidestepped or slowed down our rhythm and stop countering the system of racism, white supremacy. And in my lifetime, in direct human contact, excuse me, sir, we're going to go make a left over here this way.
Oh, okay.
Having direct contact with black people, this has never happened. So this is the first time in my story, in the story of my life as a victim of racism and white supremacy. And I thought it would be correct to point that out. I wonder when the next time this will happen will be. I wonder if this will ever happen again. And again, I would like to tell Mr. Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Who else there?
Dr. Marimba Ani.
Dr. Marimba Ani. Everybody. All non-white people. That's why we do this. Think about the children. And we've got to do better than this. We have to do better than this.
Got to make some changes if it's a problem among people. And hey, Michael Bradley, he did drive a few. Mr. Bradley said evidence would suggest white people are not going to stop practicing white supremacy. And Martin Kevorkian, other admitted white supremacists have noted the same thing, that it looks probable white people are not going to discontinue the practice of white supremacy. If that's the case, non-white people got to change our behavior. Simple things, the no sex thing, that's easy. We can start that today,
No sex, Twitter. Let's Twitter talk this. Come on, we got three black people. Twitter talk. Three sex. No sex. No sex. No mistreating no white people.
Respect all white people.
Respect all white people. That's three. Twitter side. No sex with white people. You're not treating the white people. Respect all white people.
Be correct with words.
Be correct with words. Correct.
We're going down the hallway. I sent him back. Chilling.
I didn't want to walk around the back because I kind of wanted to get away.
Oh, I see. You kind of wanted to
Get away. There was some, I suspected there was some white supremacy enforcement agents. So yeah.
smart.
And it's kind of warmer. I'm cold.
Share for sure.
I think better when I'm warm.
Me too.
I have no immediate control of the system of racism and white supremacy, but I know that this might be an environment that I'm more able to think in, and so we'll see what happens.
For sure.
I must say I appreciate these other two victims of racism. These two black men in my life. I've never had two black men in my life that are older than me that I can speak to about the system of racism and white supremacy. And I would like to say I appreciate their friends.
Always for sure. Because you got these change of views.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Twitter side, remember that black people, Twitter side, simple, direct, honest.
Right? And talking about what he felt was that day. Like, now it's a lot of words.